Opening. The Wager of Arrogance. In the cold heart of the Vekthar Dominion, the high houses gathered in their crystal arenas to watch what they considered sport. On that day, the prize was simple: the life of a human. Her name was Commander Elara Vey. She had been captured during the fall of Vaden Colony, when the Dominion's fleets descended like vultures, glassing cities and enslaving survivors. To the Vekthar, humanity was little more than an amusing anomaly. Fragile mammals from a death-ridden world who had clawed their way into the stars. The aliens wagered on her death. They broadcast the terms across the Dominion. How long could one human survive in the pit of predators? Their warriors laughed, their nobles placed bets, and their generals boasted that the galaxy would see Earth's finest torn apart like a toy. In the center of the arena, before a jeering audience of billions, Elara stood alone. Shackled, unarmed, thrown into a pit that had swallowed entire species before, the Vekthar expected entertainment. They expected fear. What they received was silence, followed by the steady, unyielding gaze of a human who refused to break. The mockery of the galaxy. When the first beast lunged from the shadows, its teeth like razors, its claws slicing stone, the crowd roared. But Elara did not scream. She moved. She fought. With bare hands, with bloodied knuckles, with the ferocity of a predator born from a world where survival was never guaranteed. Hours passed. The bets turned frantic. What had been laughter soured into unease. She killed one beast, then another. Then the Dominion released war machines, spined constructs designed for slaughter. She dismantled them with their own parts, carving through circuits and plating as though guided by rage itself. Still, the nobles mocked. They raised their chalices, toasting the inevitable death of the lone human. They broadcast the spectacle across star systems, calling it a lesson to Earth. This is your fate. You are weak. You cannot stand against us. In their arrogance, they believed they had humiliated humanity before the galaxy. But what they had done was far worse. They had given humanity a martyr. They had given humanity a spark, and Earth does not forgive. The silence before the storm. For weeks after the broadcast, alien comms filled with laughter. The Vekthar boasted that the Terrans were broken, their colonies shattered, their fleets cowering behind their fragile walls. The galaxy nodded along, convinced that humans would remain quiet, too civilized to answer violence with violence. But in the silence of Sol's orbit, shipyards burned with light. The dreadnought Resolute slid from her dry dock, hull gleaming with armor forged to drink plasma fire. Carriers, destroyers, and frigates aligned in grim silence, their engines glowing like the embers of a coming storm. On Earth itself, the President's words were brief, transmitted across every channel, every frequency. They bet on her death. They bet on our silence. They will regret both. When the last syllable faded, the launch orders were sealed. Humanity's answer was written in steel and fire. The breaking of the chains. The Vekthar never expected the strike. Their outer colonies, bloated with arrogance and stripped of defenses, were the first to burn. Human fleets emerged from slipspace with precision, blotting out suns with the sheer mass of warships. Orbital platforms fell in minutes. Slave pens were cracked open, and survivors whispered in disbelief as human marines stormed through the smoke, weapons blazing like judgment itself. For every scarred human colony, a Vekthar world was raised. For every life lost in the pits, fleets of the Dominion were shattered. Earth did not announce its retaliation. It simply arrived, comms filled with warnings, short, cold, merciless. Release them. Your time is over. This is the debt of blood. The galaxy, once amused by the Dominion's spectacle, now watched in stunned silence as the balance of power shifted in weeks. The Vekthar had awakened something they could not contain. Climax. The wrath of Earth. The decisive battle came over the Dominion's capital itself, a world of spires and crystal towers, defended by fleets that had stood unchallenged for centuries. The nobles gathered once more, certain that here at last humanity would break. But when the human armada translated into orbit, the sky itself darkened. Carriers the size of mountains released endless wings of strike craft. Dreadnoughts unleashed beams that split continents. Orbital bombardments fell with the rhythm of thunder, fire raining down as though Earth itself had cast judgment. On the surface, Vecthar legions met human soldiers. They expected fragile prey. They found predators, armored, relentless, fighting with a fury that turned entire battlefields into graveyards. Humanity had come not as victims, but as executioners. And at the heart of the storm, one voice carried across the Dominion's frequencies. "This is for Commander Alara Vey." The bets placed on her death had now become the ledger of the Dominion's annihilation. Humanity was balancing the account, interest included. Resolution. The whispered fear. When the fires finally dimmed, the Dominion was no more. Its fleets shattered, its nobility hunted, its world scarred with the weight of vengeance. The arenas that once mocked humanity stood in ruins, filled only with ash and silence. Survivors across the galaxy whispered what they had seen. Fleets blotting out suns, armies descending like storms. Earth's vengeance swift, cold, and absolute. The wagers once made in arrogance were now curses whispered in fear. And on every world, in every shadowed corner of the galaxy, one truth was repeated: never provoke Earth again. Because humanity's patience is vast. Their silence can last years, decades, centuries. But when that silence breaks, when the vengeance of Earth is unleashed, it does not stop. The Vecthar bet on her death. And in doing so, they signed their own.